Hey guys, Christopher Green, AMTV, Alternative Media Television. I wanted to deliver a critical update at this time of a national emergency. It has been absolutely declared, just like we talked about that it would by the President of the United States, Donald John Trump. This has incited panic amongst Americans, and the National Guard is now moving into multiple states, an unofficial declaration of martial law. And I'm going to get into that, which states are affected, but also the big picture. Please, for a moment, if you could just share our message with, you think, people that would care about what we have to say here today, that want to know what the truth is of COVID-19 and the coronavirus, and more importantly, so that they take action. You know, I always say, control what you can control. What you can't control, don't worry about that. So I'm going to be getting into key prepping items today. Always be 2, 3, 4, 10 steps ahead of the masses. You know, we see, for example, water and toilet paper coming off the shelves. Well, you need to be thinking, what's next? And acting today, because you're not going to get another chance. Also, we do have a few emergency kits left. We are about sold out on them. I've sold out on all of my food storage. So please understand too, if you've ordered food storage, it is on its way. I have my team working on it, but we have volumes 100 times their normal level, and you cannot get this stuff anywhere else. So take advantage of that on our emergency kits, which include a little bit of food and water, gear, and medical masks. I don't think you can find this anywhere else in the world that I'm aware of. Our family preparedness kit, for example, has 10 masks, and the other one has 4. And I've just got a few left, so make sure you get this stuff now while you can. What's the big picture here? Okay, let's think outside of the box so that we understand what the agenda is. It is the full intent, in my opinion, of your government, not just here in the United States, but worldwide, to incite fear and panic in the American people's hearts. To strike absolute fear with maximum pressure for a very specific reason. Now, follow me on Twitter if you haven't already, at AMTV Media. I tweet out things, hundreds of things, every single day that you should be following. Why? Why would your government try to incite fear? Why would they want bank runs? Why would they want to cause a panic so people are getting in fights over at Costco and are afraid of catching this deadly virus, declaring a national emergency and a pandemic and all these kinds of things? It's because they want your attention. Now, let me give you a specific concrete example of this. The U.S. government would not shut down Major League Baseball, the NBA, NCAA tournament, and the NHL unless they wanted maximum fear to close the bread and circus games of the masses. So everybody, not just people like me that follow this stuff from a day to day, but so they have their country's and more importantly, the world's attention. Now let me give you an example of that. There's no reason they need to shut down the NBA. If there's a couple guys that have tested positive for the coronavirus, that's fine, quarantine them, but let the games go on. Just test everybody else, put them in quarantine for 14 days or whatever it is, and when they don't test for it, let them play with no fans in the stands. You see, if they wanted to not incite panic, they would let the games go on so that your attention was distracted on the modern bread and circus and the modern gladiator games. But they don't want that, because what I've been telling you here on this channel for a very long time. We are going through a massive economic and financial reset, of which none of you baby boomers and no one my age and younger has seen in their entire lifetime. This has never happened in the history of America. They are resetting the debt. They're bankrupting you tuning in. They're going to make you poor. They're going to make the dollars in your pocket worthless. This ties into Agenda 21, Agenda 30. They're going to reset the debt, all the bailouts, all the 0% interest rates, right? Right now, they've got a perfect cover and a perfect scapegoat because nobody's to blame. It's no politician's fault. It's no too big to fail banker's fault. It's no policymaker, decision maker's fault. It's not the Fed's fault. It's not central banks. It's not zero or negative interest rates. It's the boogeyman that is the coronavirus. It's a perfect cover to reset everything. And it's exactly what they're going to do. Also, you will know now that they have all of your attention tuning in, but they have the attention of the everyman John Doe who's now panicking at the store getting food and water when we've been instructing people and recommending that you do that for years now, like 10 years. I've been warning about this, that you should have this stuff so you're not panicked at the last moment. Now people are getting fights at Costco. Chad just told me that he was seeing fights break out here even locally in Arizona, where he resides. You will find out in the next few days what the elite's agenda truly is. And everything is on the table. Now, we know they're resetting our financial system. They are intentionally, willfully imploding the bankrupt monetary, fiat, petrodollar, debt-based system so they can reset it. But also, keep your eye on the ball. Because Donald Trump, and I support the president, but Donald Trump and world leaders need a unifying event at this key moment to fight a common enemy that is borderless, that is a global cause. Notice this as well. Every nation must fight together to fight the common enemy, the virus. It's like a movie. Every nation must come together in a new global order to fight the virus, right? It's almost like alien disclosure or Project Bluebeam, if some of you are familiar with that, or Independence Day. All of a sudden, we have a common enemy and a common cause. Now, Donald Trump also must unify the nation. And as we look at OPEC, for example, notice that Russia and Middle Eastern nations, they can't come to an agreement on oil. Like, are you kidding me? Of course they could come to an agreement if they wanted to. They don't want to. That's why they're collapsing oil prices in a deflationary spiral that's even hitting gold and blockchain technology and cryptocurrencies right now. Because right now, cash is king. People and institutions, for example, on Wall Street, I know because I worked for Merrill Lynch in 2009, are covering their margin calls right now and their margin debt. So they're selling everything, including gold, including Bitcoin, including anything they can get their hands on to cover that debt in the short run, because we're having credit freezes, bank runs, what I think is going to come next, are bank holidays, and rationing. This is what comes next, of cash, limits on cash withdrawals at your ATM or at your local bank. This is why you need to get cash now, by the way, in my humble opinion. Get it right now before the mass. See, the masses are always behind the curve, right? They're doing food and water and basic stuff and, trying to get their long-term food stores and all this kind of stuff. What comes next is the rationing of cash, the rationing of gas, right? Other things you might not be thinking of, like batteries and, what if the grid goes down? And everything's on the table. Also, it would not surprise me if we see war in the Middle East. So I'd be watching and paying attention to Saudi Arabia. I'd be watching and be paying attention to Iran. Because again, Trump needs a unifying event, more importantly, a war. What do you do when you have the people and they're very malleable and there's maximum fear and the bread and circus of the NBA and all this stuff has been canceled? All eyes are on them. So what do you do at that point? You declare a war. Right? And again, I'm saying this from a big overall global perspective. I think Donald Trump's trying to do the right things, wade through the waters. I'm glad he's our president. I think he has the best interests of all of us at heart. But I'm talking like much bigger than Donald Trump, right? So they need a unifying war. Now, we're even seeing this through some rhetoric right now. Let me give you an example. China saying it could be the United States that brought the virus into Wuhan to attack them. You see, Donald Trump could come out and tell us, for example, that it was China that launched this bioterror weapon, or a rogue nation or terror group coming out of Iran or Hezbollah. All they have to do is say that, and all of a sudden we have another Pearl Harbor, September 11th type moment, of which it's very easy. The masses are so malleable and controllable, and they'll just baa like sheep anywhere you want to push them. And that's where the global elites have all of us right now. Not you tuning in, not me. I'm smart enough to think through this stuff. We're 10 steps ahead of the normal population. But you have to understand, from a mass media propaganda perspective, this is what they're doing. I mean, even today for show, they were like shaking hands and touching their face to try to prove a point that, the virus is not contagious. And I think most Americans, at least the smart ones, you tuning in, are less afraid of the virus, more afraid of the people around you, right? The masses that are panicking. And, I'm trying to be polite when I say this, but it's actually the liberals out there that are most ill-prepared that are actually the craziest and what you should actually fear the most. Like I always joke, it's the liberal soccer mom out there. She's the one panicking right now with 5 kids in the back of her minivan and her husband going berserk and getting in fights at Costco. You see, preppers like myself or conservatives like a lot of you tuning in, I realize not everyone's a conservative or a libertarian, you're already prepped. Like you already understand all this and you realize you're being sold a bunch of lies all the time. Also, notice that the elites are also going underground. So Bill Gates, notice today, perfect timing, he resigns from the board of Microsoft very conveniently. Doesn't it make sense how all these CEOs just weeks ago, like Bob Iger of Disney and dozens more, stepped down? What did I tell you? They were going to cash in their stock options and all these kinds of things. They're leaving, right? They're going to their bunkers. They're going underground and they're leaving you with a hot potato. Even it was, I talked about, days ago, weeks ago, it was a huge tell when Jamie Dimon had that emergency heart seizure, right? Like a heart attack, he needed to have emergency surgery. You see, they know. He knew what was coming. He knows liquidity shocks are coming to America. He knows bank runs are coming to America. He knows they're going to limit cash withdrawals. He knew that his bank was going to sink, dozens and dozens of points and all these kinds of things. It says this in the Bible. Men's hearts will stop out of fear. And this is what's happening. Let me get to our major headline. Let's get back into the logic, okay? Always be a step ahead. The National Guard has been, deployed in 6 states: Florida, Iowa, Louisiana, New York, Rhode Island, Washington, also guardsmen, in California and Maryland are also expected to join their state's efforts. So what is this? It is an unofficial declaration of martial law. The states that I just listed, Florida, Iowa, Louisiana, New York, Rhode Island, Washington, California, and Maryland, have just declared unofficial martial law. National Guardsmen have been deployed. So what we've been warning about on this channel, I don't know where this even come from, quarantines, lockdowns, like what we see in Italy, in Europe, is here, now in the United States of America. So what do you do to prep? Right? You should already have food and water. If you don't have an emergency kit, get what we have left. Even if you don't buy it from me, that's okay. Get it somewhere else. If you can find it somewhere else. Okay, you should have all that stuff now. And then, in addition to that, think ahead. So what are 2 actions you could take today that I think are going to become panics very soon? Cash. Again, the bank doesn't have your money. The banks, the too big to fail banks especially, are not liquid. And they do not have cash reserves on hand. And they are not well capitalized, even though Donald Trump says that. He's lying. They're not. And if they are, call his bluff. Go to your bank and withdraw a percentage of your bank account and do it today. Because they're going to put limits on this stuff very, very soon. And cash, again, is king. You're going to want liquidity. Also, gas and fuel. There was an announcement today that Donald Trump is going to add more to our national reserves here in the United States. Why? Because there's going to be a shortage. Even though gas is cheap and they're deflating the price of it, you're not going to be able to get it anywhere. Okay, so those are 2 things. So those are the 2 things, and then maybe like batteries and other things. And if you guys have any great ideas, put the link in the description below. You should be way past food and water now, and paper towels and freaking toilet paper and butt wipes. And by the way, butt wipes are a lot better than toilet paper. I don't know why people want toilet paper. I want butt wipes, man. It's a lot cleaner. It's easier to use, on a lighter note. So you should be well ahead of the curve. Also, you should be watching things very, very closely. So if you're one of the states I listed, you have to evaluate right now whether or not it's appropriate to bug in at your current state, city, town, or location, or bug out. Because you have to be prepared, and this is happening now, that you won't be able to leave. I believe there's going to be domestic shutdowns interstate border, armed checks moving state to state, driving into new states because they're going to want to quarantine the most infected states. And then in addition to that, I believe there's going to be great disruption to domestic air travel as well. So just like Donald Trump put a ban on European nations, and he says a ban is coming on the UK, there's going to be a ban, at least a cancellation at the very least, of less flights domestically. And then I believe, and I think this is a guarantee, quarantines and lockdowns, and as I predicted 2 days ago, martial law starting in 3 to 5 American cities in the United States, in 3 to 5 major states. So again, let me repeat where this is. Los Angeles, closing all schools. By the way, your children should not go to school. Florida, Iowa, Louisiana, New York, Rhode Island, Washington, California, and Maryland. So this is the declaration of a national emergency. See how it's growing worse every single day? See how they covered all this up? They're just lying to you, saying everything's fine, don't worry, it's just the flu, it's just the sniffles, but it's not. You see, by the time martial law is declared in your state, which could be happening now as I'm recording this video in the states I just mentioned or additional states, it's too late. Right? By the time people are fighting over toilet paper or gasoline at the pump, it's too late. So, you need to evaluate whether or not it is better to bug in or bug out. If you have a bug out property, you got to make that decision between you and God, whether or not it's the time or in the best interest of you and your family and your loved ones to get out and to bug out now. I can't make that decision for you. Many of you work. You have to go to, do certain things. You have family obligations, elderly children. I totally understand that. But the time to make these decisions is now. Also, this is a major, major point I want to make. People are grossly underestimating how bad things can get. So let me give you an example of this. Everybody's so conditioned to think that after there's a crisis like 2008, things just immediately bounce back and we hit new all-time highs and, it's just everything's fine all of a sudden and there's no repercussions because of all the bailouts and the 0% interest rates and all that BS, which, by the way, has led us to this, which is what I've been warning about for a very long time, which is why they manufactured a biological terror weapon to infect millions of people worldwide so they could blame it on the debt implosion and the reset of the fiat monetary system. But my point is, this could get much, much worse. Sell every dead cat bounce in U.S. stocks. Stock markets are bleeding. They're just completely blowing up. We're having major liquidity crises. And there is no guarantee. I hope this doesn't happen. Honestly, this is not good for me. It's not good for anyone. But there is no guarantee that we have not just entered a depression the last 10 to 20 years. Did you hear what I said? There's no guarantee we're just going to yo-yo back. Everything's great. America, the greatest country in the world. We could be sinking right now into the quicksand, into war, poverty, bank runs, bank holidays. All of it is on the table. I was looking at a chart my friend sent me of the MSCI kind of global equity, the equity index globally and in the United States, and it mirrors the chart of the Depression in 1929, and they absolutely mirror each other. And if you actually look at where stocks went after the initial 1929 crash, they just literally cratered for a total generation, 10 years before we broke even and 20 years before America was really able to restore itself. So there's no guarantee we're going to bounce back here. There's a pretty good chance, and I think this is what's happening now, the entire paradigm has changed for a good. Everything has changed. Your entire life, this cozy, lifestyle that Americans live, this is going to have ramifications for decades to come. Now, I might say this for a follow-up video, but I want you to understand that there is opportunity in all of this as well. Let me give you an example. The families you read about that bought stocks on the cheap in the Great Depression, that became the billionaire families or made millions of dollars, did so because they were smart when asset prices had collapsed and they bought things like farms and land and real estate and buildings. Even Donald Trump and his own family and his father bought most of their assets during bankruptcy or during a huge recession or a depression. That's when they bought all those buildings that later appreciated and made them billionaires. Now, the same thing is happening now, I believe. And it's happening in new asset classes. That's why I teach at bitcoinrich.com. And for those of you, most of you, honestly, I don't even recommend, well, I never recommend because it's not investment advice, but none of you even need to own Bitcoin necessarily, but you need to learn about it. Because those of you that learn about it and are acquiring assets like blockchain and cryptocurrency, things you might not know about, that's actually what they're resetting into the new paradigm. And gold as well, and silver, and these kinds of asset classes are also what are going to hold value. You know, gold, for example, in 2008-09, finalizing with the collapse in Lehman Brothers, sunk to lows. And then by 2011, years later, it was new all-time highs. And so everything is deflationary. Everything collapses. Every asset class, when people need cash and there's bank runs, which is what is happening now. But eventually, when the dust settles, and those of you that bought the farms on the cheap in the 30s, or bought the real estate, or bought the commercial buildings like Donald Trump and his father did, that's where you make the real money. So I want you to understand, especially because no one can go to work nowadays, everything's like online and they're closing schools and stuff, I would really consider taking one of my courses. You know, take bitcoinrich.com, learn about it, because I'm telling you, if you learn about this now, that's how you're going to make money. No guarantees, not financial advice. Read my disclaimers, but that's how you're going to make money and pivot into the new paradigm. Because again, and there's a link in the description for that as well, that's what's happening right now. Okay? A total engineered, pre-planned reset of the entire financial system worldwide. And then let me tell you what comes next. After they bankrupt all of you, the global elites, after all of you are poor, you know, many people won't take action. They won't learn about the things I've been telling them to learn about. They won't invest in gold. They won't invest in cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin, and these kinds of things. After they've lost all their money, this is what the agenda is, then what they're going to do is usher in socialism, free money. This is why they've been talking about universal basic incomes. There's going to be a debt jubilee and a write-down of debt. They're going to just write down huge parts of the debt and then move to this new paradigm, right? New basket of currencies, special drawing rights, SDRs, blockchain technology, maybe gold-backed currency, maybe all of it together. And the old system is going to burn away. You know, just like 2009, right? When things got bad, they just bail themselves out. They don't play by your rules. They do whatever they want. And because people are under maximum pressure, maximum fear, and soon to be maximum poverty, the American people and people worldwide will be begging for this solution. And so that's what they're doing. That is the real game plan of the global elites. And we've seen this in Italy. They're suspending all mortgage payments. Again, there's going to be a huge push for it. So that is actually a big picture. No one's talking about this at all. That's what they're doing. And I guess I'll just leave it at that today. Again, martial law has been unofficially declared in the states that I mentioned. I think they're going to ration cash, limits on ATM withdrawals. I think there's going to be a bank holiday. I think Donald Trump potentially is infected with the virus. Many people around him are infected. Or if he is infected, they might just cover it up and not tell you. I think there's going to be a moment in time, you have to look at this right now, whether or not you should be bugging in or bugging out, or getting outside of major cities that could be on lockdown. I think there's going to be a disruption to domestic travel. I think U.S. stocks are going to continue to collapse. I think it's going to get much worse. And I think their true agenda will be rolled out in the coming days, and you'll know it when you see it. A unifying event, a common enemy, a new war, something to blame, right? Just like September 11, 2001, we blamed Iraq, right? They're going to blame something. Donald Trump and the global power players, they've already decided all of this. All of this is already decided. Again, they wouldn't turn off major sporting events unless they wanted this, your eyes on the ball, and they wanted, and this is what is so malevolent about this and malicious about these people. They actually they want you to panic right now. They want you to be in fear. They want you fighting in the grocery stores. That's why they canceled all these sports events. They want bank runs. They want the liquidity crisis. They want all this because that's how they implement the new order and the new agenda. And then they'll usher in the new paradigm once again. It's a part of the agenda. It's part of the plan. It's what I've been warning about for over a decade, and we're living through it right now. If you're in America or anywhere in the world, this is your Pearl Harbor moment. And, you know, the more of you that ignore it and think, oh, it's not going to get that bad, you're going to be very surprised. Just like a lot of you are probably very surprised. I mean, again, I warned 2 weeks ago of a Black Monday, of market closures, of panic, from market triggers, halting the market and trading, and all this 2 weeks ago. People laughed, cackled. I mean, I got like 1,000 emails, people telling me I'm an idiot. And now look at them, fighting in the streets to get emergency kits, food storage, water. And so what I'm telling you now is the real deal, folks. I mean, take it from a guy who actually worked for Merrill Lynch in these companies. I understand. I mean, I went to the best private schools, graduated top of my class. I've made a lot of money in Bitcoin. People are like, Christopher, how's your Bitcoin doing? Fantastic. It's totally transportable, portable. I've actually made a couple trades recently. It's going great. Holding it for the long term. I'm acquiring more now. This is how I made all my money the first time. But again, if you're not educated, you don't understand how this works, you can't even take advantage of the opportunity. And that's why I'm telling you guys to do that. So, you know, get our emergency kits, the ones that we have remaining. I appreciate your patience, with the rest of you guys. I don't want you to be in fear. Be logical. Understand that fear shuts down your ability to think logically. It shuts down your ability to be creative. Okay? Understand He's in control. Okay? Right? Understand that, that's your biggest prep. Jesus Christ is our biggest prep. He is our salvation. Everything's going to be fine. Okay? He's going to protect you no matter what. I'm 100% confident of that. So, but use logic here too. Okay? This still doesn't mean don't prepare, don't do anything, don't take precaution. No, it's your duty. And many of you I know, especially fellow Christians out there and fellow believers, the Holy Spirit's talking to all of us. I mean, He's talking to me. How do you think I knew weeks ago this was going to happen? I mean, I hear it inside of me, okay? And I'm hearing it now. In fact, this might be the sole reason AMTV even exists, so that I can deliver just this video today. I'm getting emails from people saying, Christopher, you saved my entire investment portfolio. I took your advice 2 weeks ago, and again, it's not investment advice, but they sold out of their 401ks and IRAs and these kinds of things. Said, you saved me 100 grand, you saved me 50 grand, you saved me $1 million. Some people, I've been tweeting it, just showing, the success stories. Like again, guys, it's going to get worse. Okay, so take action, be prepared. Also, spiritually, now's the time to have more faith, to be even more spiritually strong, to trust in Him, to pray for this world, pray for our country. I'm praying for all of you out there, and I hope this message helps. Please share it, get it out everywhere you can, and that's it.